leading into what people think the next expansion might be. Again, the pirate expansion people are talking about, another continent. But some people have been saying that a revamp of the old world has slowly been happening in the background. So let's check this out, see what it's been all about. It's another Doron video. A lot of speculation probably, but let's see what kind of evidence he has for this this world revamp.
While we're probably not getting a brand new Azeroth with a Cataclysm style just complete revamp right after Dragonflight, Blizzard has actually been making
one of 3 entrances. Oh shit, Prog, you're right. That's one of 3 entrances to the Zarlek Caverns. Okay, that's how they're opening it. Okay, that totally makes sense. Yes, I see.
On a small updates under the radar that a lot of people missed. We got random, new, unrelated Pandaren animations that were quite recently added. We got a new dwarf god model. We got new buildings. We got new assets constantly being created, constantly being added one by one.
I've seen some of these Blood Elf ones.
Scenes. With Dragonflight, a lot of iconic characters.
I'm wondering if all these Blood Elf.
With Dragonflight, a lot of iconic. Kind of behind.
I'm trying to get to it. I wonder if all these Blood Elf, these new Blood Elf assets, all of these look like something you'd find in a city. Right? These all look like Silvermoon assets. So every time I see these, I'm wondering, are we going to get a revamped Silvermoon at some point? Because that's what this stuff tells me. All of this stuff looks like it belongs in Silvermoon. You got a lot of bookshelves, pillows, benches, that kind of stuff. Or city, or in-game, I don't know, man, in-game housing. That's a big one. I've been seeing more Blood Elf stuff than anything else.
Created, constantly being added one by one, kind of behind the scenes. With Dragonflight, a lot of iconic characters got new models such as the Centaur, the Gnolls. All of these could realistically hint at a soft revamp happening over time, which could include some
Silvermoon's the city that was left
quite
behind. It hasn't been revamped in forever. You can't even fly in it.
We could get Gnomeregan, Gilnea's back, the Night Elves could finally get a new city. Furthermore, with the continuation of Dragon Riding, we could get some significant updates to the terrain of all of Azeroth. So, what are all these hints, and is Blizzard really doing a soft revamp right under our noses?
Maybe. Time for an ad from
The coolest
Doron.
thing about MMORPGs is that you start as a level 1 and you constantly move forward, which in itself is an amazing feeling. Now, this game, Hero Wars, is the perfect embodiment of that. As whatever you do, you're moving forward and you're constantly getting better. Hero Wars is made
My man
just
Doron
right
can
for
sell
any MMORPG player.
ice to an
It's
Eskimo.
straightforward. You choose 5 heroes, combine them with the best strategy to fight in the campaign. You can also compete in the arena.
This
take
dude's
on
voice
other
needs to
players
be
in
an alarm
PvP,
clock.
which
Get
makes
me
it
a
even more exciting.
this
Best of all, the game is just completely free without ads. You can actually
Doran's a good
progress
guy.
without having to pay.
I like Doron.
There are so many heroes, abilities, and strategies you could choose from that the options
not selling
are
this to
quite literally endless. But some work, some don't, which makes this quite a challenge.
Yeah, I don't know
learn
about
on
this
the
one
fly.
either.
Oh yeah, and I almost forgot. Here's a question for you: where can you get 30k coins, 600 emeralds, and 5 awesome heroes to dominate Hero Wars right away? The answer is my link in the description below.
Use Doran's
play
link.
Hero Wars now.
Use his link for Hero Wars, guys. Do
This
it.
has been a super popular topic, a super popular request. In my opinion, this might be like the most requested features of all the WoW players.
World
Everyone's
revamps for
talking
sure.
about it. I mean, I've talked about it a
big
million times. I don't want to beat the topic into the ground with the same information, but we actually have a ton of new evidence all these months later since I've covered the world revamps last. In fact, Blizzard has really silently been working under the radar, and a lot of people actually missed that they started updating a ton of features one by one, which I honestly think might be a part of an overarching revamp plan that has been unannounced at this point. Personally, I don't really think we're set for another really huge
I don't think we'll get a
style,
Cataclysm
just
level
huge
revamp.
world revamp update. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm not super optimistic that they're going to just restructure the entirety of Azeroth right after Dragonflight. While the WoW team did expand, they started working a lot more seriously, as you might have seen with the recent patch release dates. A world revamp is just so much work. In fact, Blizzard kind of said that this was the biggest undertaking they had ever done back in Cataclysm. Also, important to notice that at the time of Cataclysm, WoW was at its peak with 12 million active players, so financially their budget was definitely a lot more robust, and it was really
Right, Coda coming in with the sub Death Knight of our Scourge. Thank you so much. 6 months. Yo, wow. Thank you, man, so much. I appreciate that. Keeping that sub alive, continuing to be a Death Knight of our Scourge. Appreciate it. Yeah, this whole world revamp on the level of Cataclysm, I don't see it happening. Maybe after the Microsoft merger, they'll have enough people to do something like that. But right now, I don't see the team focusing that level of effort to an entire old world revamp.
just a completely
Silvermoon, maybe.
However, I'm not
Who
saying
knows?
it won't happen. I just think it is going to be
You could get a Silvermoon / Gilneas revamp. You know, one Horde, one Alliance city. Who knows?
a soft, gradual type
They'd have to
revamp
make the
where they're
cities
going to
relevant
add
probably for
features
the
one by
expansion
one,
to
where
justify it, though.
eventually we might break free from a lot of these zones stuck in time because there are just so many of them. I mean, there could be an entire video just
Gilneas would be
listing
amazing.
all
I
these
totally
zones
agree.
stuck in time. One of the biggest
We've never gotten to
is
use
that
it as a city,
we
and it's
got
such a
really
badass city.
mysterious and telling tweet from a senior quest designer for WoW recently that said opens up Eastern Kingdoms in DevTool. At the time,
That's right, I
this
remember that
brought
tweet.
quite a bit of hype. We thought this was like the confirmation from Blizzard, like they were sort of winking at us, but they later clarified that she makes quests, so not new terrain or models, and with the recent updates, this was almost certainly related to the recent Human Heritage questline. However, I think this is something that you guys have played through, but might not have noticed that it could be a part of the soft revamp, and those are the two Heritage questlines we had received. Not only did we get new and updated armor, but Blizzard finally, after so many years, started tying up some loose ends. I mean, realistically, in WoW, there are
the Heritage armor questlines were so cool.
A pretty good start. We
They
got
went back to a lot of old
significant
zones.
resolution of the Defiance Brotherhood lore, some Stormwind politics. We learned a lot about the Orcish clans and how they have been doing all these years, as well as Orc leadership. Then another big hint that probably flew past you is that Blizzard literally started introducing and making new models, new animations, new buildings, and they have been
I didn't know about this, the new
pretty much
animations.
under the radar. This has been sort of a hidden gem, but they more than likely added this at some point during Dragonflight.
That Orc
Blizzard
clan
added
meeting was
new
so
animations
cool.
to the
Yeah,
Pandaren
I'm
that
sure it
look
was.
a lot more natural, such as leaning, talking, sitting. Very cool looking animations
Oh,
as
that's
well. I mean,
right.
keep in mind, we had
Look at the
about
drunk
actual
sitting
zero
style.
Pandaren related questlines for them to add this, which means that this could be a part of the big plan that is slowly being implemented. Then Blizzard actually updated the Dwarf Guard model, also unrelated to what is going on. I mean, some people connected this to the recent Earthen Dwarf Titan lore, which of course could be realistic, but so far this seems to have been done on a whim. Another thing you might not have noticed, as this has been just features of the new expansion, and that is that a lot of old iconic
The new
minions
dwarf
in WoW
armor is pretty
have been
badass.
updated as a part of Dragonflight. We got new
Mount
updated
Run
Centaur
Tuesday today,
models,
right?
Gnoll models that have been relevant pretty much since Warcraft 3. In the
The
past few
Gnolls
expansions, we got new
were
animal
great.
models, we got a
The
bunch of
Gnoll
animal
changes
models,
were amazing.
I mean, ton of animal models, in fact. And of course, Blizzard also worked constantly on new customization features for playable characters. If you might have noticed, every single small and big update, we're getting something from like new eyes to new hairstyles to new colors. This all seems to be a
These have been
part
dropping
of a
constantly.
really soft and long revamp of the world. For example, even prior to Dragonflight release, we discovered a bunch of new
Soft and long? Is that what he just said? Two things that usually don't go together. Very interesting.
long revamp of the world.
yeah.
For example, really soft and long
Really soft
revamp
and
of the
long.
world.
Interesting.
For example,
Okay.
even prior to Dragonflight release, we discovered a bunch of new, really cool looking human buildings. We got a ton of new Blood Elven structures, features,
Yeah,
boats.
more.
All of these
all
are
these Blood Elf things. I mean, the boats. There's a ton of Blood Elf assets that are just very interesting. I'm wondering what the hell's going on with all this Blood Elf shit.
of course, tiny bits and pieces, items,
Like I said, a
buildings,
lot of
but
city
keep in mind,
assets,
a
it
lot
looks
of these
like.
can actually be used for the next expansion or next
That
expansions.
boat
Just with the new human
is
buildings, I mean, they
nasty.
could completely restructure a bunch of current
That boat
human
had
settlements.
unfinished,
I mean, definitely not
pixels on it
Stormwind,
too,
but
though.
a bunch of these human outposts could change within the matter of like a day if they just updated the buildings. Not only that, but these past few expansions, we've gotten a ton of new assets as well with completely rebuilt Stromgarde. I mean, at this point, what
Stromgarde's
they have been
awesome.
doing for years, they really don't need to just remake the entire world. They already got a bunch of features, a lot of assets that they could just implement. I mean,
Right.
keep in mind, some areas in Azeroth are really stuck in time. And when I say stuck in time, I really mean stuck in time.
No,
I mean,
my God.
personally, I don't see continents such as Northern or Pandaria being updated in the near
No,
future, as
probably
they're
not.
really relevant. But the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor are the core of World of Warcraft. It is what all players see. And
That's
those
right. The
updates
core
for
and the
Cataclysm
whore.
at this point are twice as old as the original zones, and some were not even updated, so some are 20 years old at this point. From a marketing perspective, this makes a ton of
2
sense. I mean,
pixels
it's
per
really
step.
not a good look for someone in 2023, 2024 to start playing WoW to see what this game is.
We recently watched that video of that guy playing WoW for the first time, and he talked about it. He was like, man, I could see like when he was playing through the vanilla part of leveling. And then he said when I got to the first expansion, which I believe was BFA that he was doing, he said I could totally see the difference in in-game assets. He goes like the up-res when I went to BFA content was massive, and he could see it. Which goes to tell you that some of the vanilla stuff is still very harsh on the eyes.
and then see assets that were made back in like 2003, especially with the competition these days. Furthermore, from a lore perspective, Blizzard has
Elemental
actually
expansion,
been
that's what he's predicting.
updating the lore, and we know
how right
a
has he been?
bunch
Has he
of
been pretty
zones
on point?
changed.
I remember
It's only
seeing
a
that
matter of
post.
time before it happens in the game. I mean, you can check out the full update videos I made for
Elemental
Kalimdor,
pirate
Eastern
expansion,
Kingdoms,
maybe.
Northern, Pandaria. It's pretty much
100%
half an hour
accurate,
of content
damn.
covering all the little bits and pieces, because realistically
I can see it
in-game,
happening.
it should look completely different. Worst offenders are Orgrimmar and Stormwind. I mean, two main cities that look pretty lame compared to everything else, every
Yeah,
big city
I mean,
Blizzard
Suramar
has
is
been making these
amazing.
past years. Then we have Gnomeregan, just completely stuck in time, and the gnomes seem to have just been forgotten about and just stuck in this
Yeah.
loop of retaking their
Gnome
homes.
hooves.
We have Silvermoon that is still half destroyed. I mean,
The best unused in-game asset. I always say it, man. Silvermoon is absolutely gorgeous. It's such a nice looking city, man. And it's you can't even fly in it. They didn't even upgrade it during Cataclysm. This city's been sitting since BC. Same shit. Has not changed.
things look super outdated and very funny looking compared to the new Dragonflight Blood Elven assets. Even worse, the zone of Gotalas is not even seamless with the continent, but even there, in Shadowlands, Blizzard made a small questline to update Scourge activities in Gotalas,
Oh, let me
which,
see this.
of course, could be a start. We know, for example, in the lore, Stormguard is an actual living city now without the ward. Yet, in the game, it is, of course, stuck in
shit.
time.
Hold
Other
on.
cities should look entirely different.
My bad.
And might
My bad.
Other cities should look entirely different and might even be completely rebuilt. Also, what I'm talking about the Forsaken, Blizzard recently updated some assets to remove the essence of Sylvanas, which could also be a hint. Something could happen with Elamor all these years later, and with a piece that has been lasting for years. Even more interestingly, at the end of Shadowlands, Blizzard very heavily hinted
Oh,
that we
yeah,
consider
this is the
tradition of
prediction.
Gilneas as
Checking
a
it out.
possible
We'll look at it
questline,
after.
which really brings us to even more hints and how this
Gilneas,
revamp
man.
could be done. I mean, keep in
The
mind, the
Gilneas
recent
revamp would be
two
amazing.
Heritage questlines introduce some new assets and updates for orcs and humans, which are the two core races. However, we got a dozen more, and these heritage questlines could become a thing
Can't
for
say the
every
same about the
single race,
Draenei starting
which
zone. Yeah,
would be
but
like mini revamps spread throughout multiple expansions. Before
let's
you
be honest, the Draenei starting zone is not as badass as the Blood Elf one. As an Alliance player, I'll be upfront with that one. The Blood Elf starting zone and Silvermoon are just far better. The Draenei is just a fucking crashed ship in the middle of an area. It's not that cool.
I know we already
The
got a bunch of
Exodar is
heritage
not a
stuff
city
from
that I
BFA,
care to
but
see
we could
revamped.
totally get new, race-specific questlines akin to this. Not only would this solve lore loose ends, but they could make new assets and some very serious changes.
A main
to
city on a
capitals.
random
I could totally
island.
see a Vorgen questline with reclamation of Gilneas, or maybe goblins taking back Kazan. We could get an updated Silvermoon this way, or the Draenei getting Exodar updated to the current standards.
The only
Of
way I
course,
see them updating those old cities, like I said, the reason why I said Gilneas and Silvermoon, they have to make it relevant to the expansion in some way. I don't see them updating Silvermoon and then just leaving it as irrelevant as it currently is. Because right now there's no reason to go to Silvermoon. There's absolutely no reason to be there, unless you just want to RP as a Blood Elf or something. Or go experience some Moonguard orgies in the inn over there or something. I don't know. But there's no reason to go to Silvermoon. So they're not going to revamp it, spend all this time and assets to do that, and then everyone has no reason to ever go there. So it has to be relevant to the expansion. And I can
Some
see
of
that
these-
happening with Gilneas and Silvermoon, because there are stories to be told still. You got to fix the dead scar in Silvermoon, the retaking of Gilneas. Those are cool things that we could experience in the game.
would require quite a lot of content, but this isn't just my wishful thinking. I mean, we have a lot of other lore crumbs we could follow. For example, we know as recent as Dragonflight, Kalimdor was actually moved a bit east on the
Yeah.
map. Although, keep in mind, Blizzard actually responded to this. They said this was mainly done by the art team. It's not some crazy conspiracy theory. However, they
We'll leave it up to
changed
WoW
their
fans to
philosophy
fucking
quite a
go
bit
nuts
and
over just
started
moving an
focusing
island
on
a little
key
bit.
features. For
Moving the
example,
continent.
if we follow the Dragonflight roadmap, we know that they plan to eventually update the professions further, which could also be a part of this revamp. I mean, the revamp doesn't just have to be visual. However, in regards to visual, which of course are very important, we have the strongest hint so far, and that is dragon riding, which is a pretty significant feature of Dragonflight. They
True.
hinted at this in a pretty straightforward way that they
Well-
don't plan to abandon dragon riding.
Well, yeah, if you're gonna be able to dragon ride in Silvermoon or something, you can't even fly right now. So it has to be fixed if you're gonna be able to dragon ride over it. Because right now, I think Silvermoon, if you were to fly over it, the top of the city is just completely undone. Like it's completely open. It was never done with the intention of it being seen by players.
expansion, like a lot of one-off expansion features. It just wouldn't make sense to just learn this new skill, get the dragons, and just forget it exists.
No, they won't get rid of
expansion.
dragon riding.
If
That's
you take
already
this
confirmed.
logic,
There's
they
no way.
probably plan to introduce it to the entirety of Azeroth. The first big feature that required a world revamp for WoW was flying, which happened in Cataclysm. The second could definitely be dragon riding. Dragon riding wouldn't need such a major update, but they would need to 100% update some old
How do the ghosts? It's true. There's nothing out there.
Fly in Silvermoon or get it from other areas, which really is the most
There's nothing out there right now, Tidewell. You never know what comes up in the future.
critical zone, but some terrain updates would also be needed for a lot of other areas. All this hints at a pretty significant soft revamp that, like you mentioned multiple times by now. Now, I'm not saying a Cataclysm thing couldn't happen. In my opinion, the most realistic factor could be Azeroth Awakening, which would be like the brand new Sundering. We even have a ton of setups for this to happen. For example, we got the time skip after dragonflight, which is setting the perfect foundation so that the world just doesn't change overnight. Second, we had that part of the dragonflight cinematic where Alexstrasza,
right, she's renewing everything,
raised an entire forest from a desert place with one breath, which could involve the dragon aspects getting stronger. Then we have the seed of Teldrassil, which could introduce the Night Elven
the anal bead of Teldrassil,
and the creation of their new home. Most importantly, a big part of WoW's core audience are the old hardcore players that abandoned the game, and I could totally see an expansion involving a revamp feature, getting old players purchasing the new expansion so they want to see what the old zones
it's not World of Warcraft, it's World of Islands.
Most importantly, this could actually be quite realistic. I mean, a few months back, Blizzard significantly expanded their working team by acquiring a new studio, which means at this point they definitely have the power to make this happen. You can see this.
That's the thing. All of this follows dev power. You know, how many devs do they have? How many assets can they commit to this? That's what matters at the end of the day.
Content for Dragonflight. So while I don't think we will get a
World of bad
huge
mapping
Cataclysm revamp, we might get a soft revamp over time. Thank you for watching. Check out Azeroth, maybe the smartest old god ever, by clicking on the screen, and check out Doron's Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.
Yeah, Cam Shady, I don't think they get rid of regular flying. I think dragon riding will only be available for dragon riding mounts, like dragon mounts. You can't dragon ride on a horse. It's just not going to work. There's no animations for it.